Hello friends, today I am super excited because there's a storm coming. Also more Marvel Legends. Well, here is Storm out of the packaging, friends, and I gotta say, she's a pretty good looking figure. I've always loved Storm in her white costume like she was in the 90s X-Men cartoon, and I guess most people like that too because this figure is actually a re-release. Because the original Storm in the white costume has been so hard to find and has been like going for expensive prices on the secondary market, and Hasbro finally got their heads out of their butts and decided to re-release her because I found a ton of these at Target, and I'm so thankful to finally have Aurora in her white outfit. Aurora's Storm's name in case you didn't know, but this is such a cool looking costume for her, I think. It goes so perfectly, and they got everything right as far as I can tell. Like, there's little X's, that's sculpted detail. These yellow lines on her costume, sculpted in. That is awesome, and look at the little folds, and especially up at the arms where like it would bunch up more. That looks great, I think. I mean, I don't think they overdid it with the wrinkles too much on the other parts of the costume. It does look like there's like some marbling stuff going on with the plastic, but it also looks kind of cool. It's like this is pearlescent kind of hue, and then the sculpt on the hair just looks terrific. Like, look at that. That could be like billowing in the wind at any time, which makes sense for Storm at any time because she's always got control of the wind, so she can make her hair fabulous whenever she wants, pretty much. These shoulder thingies are separate pieces, and they're sort of loose and rubbery, which is, I guess, a good thing, so they won't get in the way too much. Now, weird thing about Storm is her cape, because it's not really a cape. It's like a weird partways cape thing, but this material, I think ideally, like, should be rubber on a Storm figure, and this is more like paper. Like, I don't know what it is. It's like a really thin cloth that's almost like paper, and I kind of don't like it. It's like it's going to break at any minute. And they've got like little strings attached to her arms, and I think it doesn't look the best. But the rest of the figure, grade A on the sculpt as far as I'm concerned. I don't see any way they could have improved the sculpt, really. It just looks so great. I did find one thing, however. In the X-Men 90s cartoon, I don't know about the comics, but in the cartoon at least, Storm had sort of heels on her feet, and the feet are flat here. But I mean, that's actually an improvement as far as I'm concerned, because on the action figure, you want her to be able to, stand up. So I think flat feet's a bit better. But in terms of accuracy, I guess she might have needed a heel if you wanted to be super accurate. Let's start talking about the paint. Now, I've already mentioned like the pearlescent kind of white they used on the body, and I think it looks terrific. There's also this gray wash. It's like a grayish bluish wash in the hair. I think it's sculpted in white. Maybe it's sculpted in grayish blue and just painted on white. I'm pretty sure it's sculpted white, and like gray blue is like washed in there because it looks fantastic. And the yellow's pretty clean. Now, unfortunately though, I'm going to see a lot of slop on the X's. Like, the red is not quite right. And I saw this was a very common problem on all the Storms I saw in the store. Also a very common problem, this neck thing. Like, I do not know what's going on, but there's something with the way they assembled the figure that the neck is always going to have these little white things. This is a super common problem, and I picked like slightly clean X's over like a perfect neck, which, well, none of them had perfect necks, but like they all had kind of like this thing on their neck, just like a white stripe thing going on, and I don't know, maybe I could scrape it off or remove it with some paint thinner stuff over time. That's a bit of an issue. Paint on the face, though, she's got the whites in her eyes, like she does when she activates her powers, which is pretty cool, although I would also kind of like to see a Storm with the blue eyes that she has usually. But I mean, this is, I think you'd kind of expect it to be done with an action figure. You're not going to expect a Wolverine action figure without claws. You're not going to expect a Storm without the white eyes painted, especially since it would cost them more to paint the pupils in there, which they don't want to do. They got the little earrings she's got, little lightning bolt earrings, if we could focus on them. Man, they painted those pretty cleanly even. I mean, everything's pretty darn good. This cloth material, I guess the yellow was like printed on, not painted on, but like the yellow on the actual body seems pretty good overall. The shoulder pauldrons, the neckline there. It's just, I don't know where this white came from. That's kind of sloppy, and then the red on the X's is sloppy on pretty much all of them. So you're going to have to check the neck and the X's at the store, but otherwise the paint seems pretty good. It's spectacular on the hair. Now it's time for articulation. Now, Storm has a ball hinge neck, and wow, like, could you ask for it to look down more? That's ridiculous. But then, of course, because the hair is so big, like, it ain't going up really. But I mean, still, very good range on the ball joint. Like, wow, what is that? Like, let's pop her head off if we can. Look, the extra large ball joint that like the Gwen Stacy had. And oh my gosh, I popped this thing off. Let me pop it back on. Oh, thankfully they just popped back on. Oh wow, the X's are separate pieces. Let's take a look at that. The X's peg out. There's little plastic things holding the cape on. You know what I realized? You could take this whole cape off. Sorry, it's supposed to be about articulation right now, but like, wow. Oh, but the hands pop out. Hands pop out. Well, I guess you could just disassemble the entire figure. Wow. Wow, look at that. I'll take this little cloth thing out, pop her hands back in. X's seem like separate pieces on the little shoulder pauldrons. Can pop them in that. Then pop them on Storm. There's nothing really holding them in on the back. Wow, and then you have like capeless Storm. Headless Storm too, but I mean, I just popped that off to see like she's got the extra large ball joint that Gwen Stacy had in my previous review, and wow, now she's got no cape. I mean, the cape was like, well, it kind of hinders the articulation anyway, so let's continue looking at it. That was a heck of a off-topic divergent. But anyways, these shoulder things, they are not getting in the way. It seems she gets up above 90 just fine. They don't even have to bend or stretch or anything. Now, they will get in the way when you try and rotate, but she's got the hinge and swivel shoulders, so, I mean, you kind of expect them to rotate all the way around. I guess you could pop them off and they could rotate all the way around, though. Put that back on there, and then she has no cuts at the biceps. She does have the single hinge and swivel elbow and hinge and swivel wrists. Diaphragm joint gets good side to side. Pretty good front and back, can go all the way around. Nothing at the waist, of course. Then there's balls at the hips. She can go so far out. Really far forward. That's right about 90, I think. And then not so much back again because of the butt, but I'm glad she has the butt there because, well, whatever. Moving on. Cuts at the thighs. Double knees. Very good there. And hinge and pivot style ankles. Articulation's pretty much what I expect. I'm really glad how they incorporated the shoulders as separate pieces there, and they don't even have to move. It's like they could move if they got in the way, but they don't really have to, although they do get in the way doing that. I'm also really glad that the cape is an option to remove, because you do worry about like spinning your hands around and like breaking off that little string thing. So pretty good implementation of the shoulder and the cape thing, I'd say. I just think it could be a bit more secure and let you swivel the arm all the way around. Maybe, I don't know how they do it, but I'm happy with the articulation that we got. Storm's packaging is pretty similar to the retro Spider-Man Wave, except I guess it's supposed to be reminiscent of some 90s toy line the X-Men had, and up there it says Marvel 80 years because it's the 80th anniversary figure. On the back we get a little weird drawing of Storm without colors, and then the other figures in the Wave, but it's a double-sided blister card. Same old stuff we've seen before. Let's just open it up. Alright, the figure's pretty easy to get out. Once you have the bubble off the card back, just pop her out, along with her massive hair. No twist ties or nothing, very nice. And we get a good look at the artwork on the card back there. Definitely Jim Lee inspired. Nice looking packaging, Hasbro. For accessories, Storm comes with these two rubber lightning effects. I guess she technically also comes with that weird cape we saw earlier, which you can attach and detach as much as you like, but I don't know if I really count that since it comes packaged on her, and like so's her head, and you can take that off. Would you count that as an accessory? I don't think so, right? Anyways, these are pretty much our only two accessories, the rubber lightning pieces, and we've seen them many times before. I'm getting included with all kinds of Power Rangers things. I'm a little tired of them, honestly, but what you do is you wrap them around her hands, and it's like she's shooting lightning. Let me see if I can't. Of course, it's like easier to go further down the arm, but you want it to look like it's coming out of her hands. So, I mean, it probably would have been better if Hasbro maybe like included some alternate hands that have the lightning sculpted coming out of the fingertips. I think that'd be kind of cool. Like they did that with an Electro figure, so that'd be cool here. But this looks pretty good too if you get it to balance correctly, you know? A little more like that. That does look pretty epic, I must admit. But seriously, just two little rubber accessories. I mean, she doesn't come build figure piece. It feels like we got a little gypped on the accessory, but the figure's so nice I don't really care. Scale time, Storm stands about 6.5 inches or 16.5 centimeters tall. Pretty good for fitting in with your standard 6-inch Marvel Legends or DC Universe superhero figures. And looking pretty snazzy with the rest of the animated series X-Men team. Except for Cyclops, because I still really need a Cyclops, and probably Jean Grey in her Jim Lee costume too. I guess I really need to get that Jim Lee 3-pack, huh? And finally, here she is compared to the Toy Biz Marvel Legends Storm and Punker Storm. And I gotta say, out of all three of these costume options, I really love the white costume best of all. Although the rubbery material they use for the cape on the Toy Biz one is a lot better, I think. I mean, that would be a serious improvement if you could do something like this, Hasbro. So do I ultimately recommend this new, well, not so new reissue of the white costume Marvel Legends Storm, friends? Well, heck yeah, I do. Pretty much based on personal preference alone, because I have such nostalgia for the classic X-Men animated series, and that's why I love Storm in the white costume here so much. And really, how often do we get Storm in this costume anyways? So it's pretty rare. There's nothing wrong with the sculpt on the body. I mean, for the cape, I wish they'd gone with like a thin thin rubber instead of the ultra thin papery cloth stuff that they did. And for the paint, you got to watch out for the slop on the X's on the front and that whatever thing's going on her neck there, which I think is actually like it's white plastic, and the brown paint they use for her skin is like scraping away, which either way, like why is there slop? Why is it scraping away? I don't know. For articulation, though, is very good, and the accessories are kind of light. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe if I weren't so nostalgic, I wouldn't recommend it. But if you like Storm in this white costume, then I'd totally go out and get her. Well, until next time, peace out, YouTube.